Hello everyone and welcome to another Q&A corner presented by HiTechU. My name is Andrew and I am so excited to have you back again or for the first time here on our live streamed interactive industry interviews and presentations. Today I am so excited for our presentation and interview. It's a really cool conversation that's been many months in the making, and one that I know from all of the feedback that we've received from you, you're all incredibly excited about. And I'm gonna introduce you to our guest in just a minute. But if you're tuning into the stream for the first time, just want to give you kind of a rundown on how things work, and then I will pull over the person that you're really here to see today and hear from today. George Scott, who is the president of IATSE Local 168. And yeah, but before we do that, I just want to give you a rundown. So we are here on Twitch if you're catching us live. You might also be catching us here on YouTube. We're going to give these instructions for if you're catching us on Twitch, which is where we're hoping you are, because we are all about interaction. So these streams, while there's some really cool content that are in them, it's all about giving you the opportunity to connect with people that are working in technology and technology adjacent roles that are doing really cool things that are related to tech and tech careers. So if you've got questions as we're going through today, you can feel free to throw them in the chat, which is over there or down there or maybe up there. I'm not sure where it is. And we'll be sure to make sure that our awesome special guest gets an opportunity to answer those questions for you a little bit later on. And as we're going through today, if you've got any questions, need any clarifications, just throw things in that chat and we're here to answer that for you. Q&A Corner, if you're not aware of where we're coming from, is presented by HiTechU, which is an initiative of the University of Victoria's Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and we are excited now. I'm excited to kind of take a step back for a second and introduce somebody who spends a lot of time behind the scenes, but is now going to kind of take center stage for today and introduce you to some of the really cool tech-related roles in the entertainment industry. So I am going to pull up our amazing guest and unmute him. All right, so there we go. George, I'm going to walk over and unmute you. Unmute, there we go. How is it going? Oh, you are, in fact, still muted. There we go.
This is only my third Zoom online thing today, so I'm finally getting up to speed on how this technology works. Thank you, Andrew, for having me, and thank you everyone who's online watching and those who are going to watch the recorded version later. And it's a pleasure to be here.
So it's interesting. I'm really excited about this stream for two reasons. One, because there was a meeting many moons ago in the pre-COVID world where HiTechU got connected with IATSE, and we had this conversation about how incredible the opportunities are that exist in sort of the entertainment industry, but not necessarily the entertainment industry that I think a lot of people think of, because in addition to sort of film and TV, there's a lot of tech that's also going on behind the scenes in the theater and in other entertainment venues as well. And George, you brought along a little bit of a presentation to showcase some of these opportunities, I think, right?
I did. I'd like to do a little introduction first before we get into the PowerPoint.
Awesome.
We as a local are members of the union that has the longest union name in the world.
I saw.
IATSE, which you see under my picture, is just the first little part of it, and it stands for the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Picture Technicians, Artisans, and Allied Crafts of the United States, its territories, and Canada. And I want to start with a little land acknowledgement, because that's something we as a local are very aware of, that this is our home, but it's a home we share with people who've been here for thousands of years. And I myself am joining you today from the ancestral and unceded home of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, now known as the Esquimalt and Songhees nations. But I also acknowledge that we as an entertainment local work in theaters placed upon the ancestral and unceded homes of the Wasanich Nation, the Hulquamina people, now known as the Cowichan tribes, and the Liquiltok peoples. And we thank them for the privilege of continuing our work and your entertainment on their lands. As I noted, I'm a member of IATSE Local 168, the president in my 4th year of service to the local. IATSE, besides having the longest union name around, is an entertainment union that has been around since 1893. It was started when people from 11 theater cities came together in New York City to create this union. So we are and remain the original gig workers. Our union existed before movies, before there was sound in movies, before there was color in movies, before the invention of television, before color television, before stop motion animation, before voiceovers in television and film, before touring musicals, before Cablevision, before pay-per-view. We predate the internet. We've been around in entertainment before CGI, before 24-hour sports channels, before streaming. And we do all of those things, and we still do all of those things, and we are the original union of the gig economy. I'm going to show a PowerPoint that discusses some of the technology we use today, but as I will note in it, we also still use technology that we have been using since the creation of the union and also the live entertainment industry worldwide, some of which dates back to like the 15th century. So I'm going to screen share now my lovely PowerPoint. And here we go. So this is our logo. We are IATSE 168. We are, as I noted, a local of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Picture Technicians, Artisans, and Allied Crafts of the United States, the Territories, and Canada. Our area of work covers Vancouver Island. We are what's known as a stage local and work on the live entertainment side, but we have members who work in filmed entertainment, both on the island and off. And we work in 8 workplaces across Vancouver Island from Victoria to Campbell River. So as I've noted, we are IATSE Local 168. We're proud entertainment workers. We do concerts. We do concerts in the Save on Foods Memorial Center. And while concerts are on hold now because of our healthcare emergency, we are already working with promoters on concerts that will be coming in later 2021 and some really cool stuff that will potentially be coming to Victoria in 2022. I can't say the name of the band, but it starts with a K. We represent talented arts workers across Vancouver Island from Victoria to Campbell River. We worked before, during, and after shows to support local, national, and international artists. We are events. This is a still photo from when a show called Walking with Dinosaurs came to the Save on Foods Memorial Center. Animatronic dinosaurs, also dinosaurs in which they had mounted a dinosaur frame to a cut down little go-kart so that it could move around the arena floor. And these animatronic dinosaurs, some of which were so large they took up an entire 53-foot trailer to transport them, interacted on the stage floor of the arena. Our areas of work, we provide scenic carpenters, wardrobe cutters and sewers, scenic artists, lighting crew, sound operators, video crew, riggers, who are the people who clamber up in the high steel in the arena and lift our shows, drivers, forklift operators, ticket sellers, ushers, bar staff, janitors, and arts management workers across the island. We work with the Victoria Symphony and other symphonies. This is a picture of the 100-plus-year-old Royal Theatre here in Victoria during our COVID times, where the symphony are sufficiently distanced that they continue to do their musical work in a space in Victoria. So we are adapting to these COVID times, and we continue to work in our venues. We are opera. One of the things we do for one of our employers is we build opera scenery. We build opera costumes. We build opera properties. This is a still from a production of Hansel and Gretel. Not the Hansel and Gretel you may know from Grimm's fairy tales, where a few things happen to a nice brother and sister. The opera is very, very much darker. So we worked in conjunction with a world-renowned puppet company on the design of this show, then built it. Then we took it to Vancouver and installed it, and it has subsequently gone to San Diego. So looking at the scale of this 6-foot-tall man, Mr. Jeff Hunter, you can see the size of the work that we do. And if I get my head out of the way, you can see the size of the chair upon which a large puppet worn by a performer was placed. So we do things in a monumental scale because we work in large spaces and large theaters, and to give you the experience that is the ephemeral thing that is theater, we are often working very big. We provide trained, safety certified, properly equipped workers to our regular employers and special event producers on Vancouver Island. Besides our 8 regular employers, we do the labor for almost all the festivals on Vancouver Island. We have workers who also tour with artists. So they will go out on the road working with artists as their touring technical crew. This is something quite a few of our members do as well. We are meetings. We do trade shows. We do events. We hung this truss. We hung the speakers off this truss. We hung the lights off this truss. We did all the microphones. Again, this is another COVID-based meeting where this gentleman is presenting wearing his mask. So we continue to do our work safely in this COVID environment. We are musicals. I'll get in a few minutes into talking about the lighting technology that we use to create effects like this. This is a production at the McPherson Playhouse here in Victoria, a 107-year-old house that was originally built for vaudeville. This is a production by our friends from the Canadian College of Performing Arts. I think it was Newsies, but I'm not sure the show. But it gives you an idea. As you can see, very many lights, and I will go into some detail about the technology we use in that. We are the entertainment production professionals on Vancouver Island. And we are also very much into training. This is a picture of when we were doing high angle rescue and fall arrest training for our riggers, who are those people I mentioned who go up into the rafters in theaters and arenas to hang shows. I'll also speak a bit about that technology going further. I myself will be attending forklift and telehandler training tomorrow, and mental health first aid training, so I can become a mental health first aid attendant in a few weeks, because we very much believe in training, which is one of the reasons we've been very eager to come to speak to High Tech U, and we're happy to be here. We use the newest tech, but we also embrace our history as the inventors and adapters of tried and true technology. We use lighting technology like this electronic theater controls Geo 5 console in ways that when you talk to your Google Home unit about controlling some lights in your house, it's the very small little child friend of this piece of technology. The Geo is able to control through discrete outputs over 4,000 separate devices through that one console. It has the ability to control all of them in an intensity from 1 to 100 individually. So for those of you who are good at math, that's 4,000 times 100. So that's, already 400,000 potential parameters driven out of this single console. We use a degree of technology in lighting. I will have a little hands-on demo in a bit that is well beyond what is used anywhere else except in entertainment. What you can see underneath this case is the touring road case that it would travel in to go from theater to theater for shows. All of our venues have consoles like this in them as their house gear, but often touring shows will bring their own technology in addition. And part of our job is to integrate their technology to our venues, which is a lot of networking. Everything that we use from these lighting consoles uses your standard Cat5, Cat6 networking, but also we drive proprietary network technology that's only used in entertainment, AMX and DMX 512 control systems. One of the things that's interesting with these consoles in particular is that you can save a show to it, either to the integrated onboard memory, to an external hard drive, or to a USB stick, and then take that show with you to another venue. You go into that other venue and do what we call patching, which is assigning the 400 channels 4,000 channels that I spoke of, max, to individual fixtures in a different venue. This allows you to bring in your show on a little disc to the console that's already in that venue and control the inventory that's in that venue. So there's this portability of entertainment technology that is new, but it's also very important to us. We also have the capacity to store hundreds of different shows in a single console. So shows are often stored, but also one of the things that our lighting programmers do is build the shows on these consoles. So knowing that there are 400 odd lights in a theater, some of which have up to 100 single parameters in them, right? So if we are using an automated lighting fixture like this IATSE Solo, it has multiple capacities in it. So there is a motor down at the bottom that will spin this yoke. There's driver motors up here that will spin this head. There are integrated motors inside it that will move a lens that is inside the fixture to zoom the beam of light from as little as 7 degrees wide to as much as 47 degrees wide. Also, these fixtures have stepper motors where we overlay prisms inside the light to create virtually any color, and also have pattern wheels on motors inside that can layer multiple templates to create patterns. So we control all of those through a console like this Geo, and when we are programming a show, we have to program all the parameters of things like this: the pan, the tilt, the intensity, what colors, the way colors fade, the patterns, the way patterns fade. And unlike your house, which has a single switch for your lamp or your kitchen or whatever, we can control the intensity of every single fixture in the facility at different levels at the same or different times. Our lighting consoles are not only super high-end switches, they are also multi-clock devices where we can be running one lighting state, which we call a cue, that will transition in 1 second at the same time as operating multiple other cues that have different time signatures to create the desired lighting effect. But as I noted, we also use 15th century technology. These are a bunch of, this is an older picture. These folks are all much older now, but this shows you the technology that we use to move scenery inside the Royal Theatre here in Victoria. Yes, those are ropes. Yes, those are sandbags. We counterweight scenery pieces with sandbags using this technology, which has been adapted from sailing ships. As I noted earlier, we are inventors, adapters, stealers of technology to put to work for entertainment. There are no winches. There are humans that do this work. But, you know, that thing atop your head is the very best piece of technology that there is out there and always will be. We do have motorized winch systems within theaters. We have automated winch systems, but we still do embrace this old technology because it works. One of the things we do as well is that we embrace a few theatrical tricks. This is a picture from a training workshop where we were training people on doing hair and wigs and makeup and false facial hair. So all of these members of our local aren't necessarily this blessed with facial hair, but this is a skill we teach. It goes back several centuries, but to create the effect that we want in the live theater, this is the way it needs to be done. So we both embrace new technology and old technology, and I'm proud to do so. So that's a little bit of backgrounder on IATSE Local 168. I'm now going to stop this share, and I'm going to speak to more of that lighting that I spoke of earlier that we control with the geo. And this is an interesting thing for me because this is a way that while you might not necessarily work in a theater, you can use technology to work within the theatrical concept and use skills in technology and engineering to make theater work better. Because as I noted, we have 4,000 control channels coming out of a geo and often have 400 lighting fixtures. Our lighting fixtures, well, some of you may recognize something like this. It's a little candelabra lamp, 40 watts at 120 volts, something you would put in your chandelier at home. And household technology has advanced a little bit, and now we have something like this, which is a 60 watt LED household light bulb. Again, you know, a step up in technology, but still nothing compared to what we use in the theater. I'm just going to crack open this case. This, I don't know if you can see that. It's from our friends at Ushio, which is a manufacturer of technology for lighting and such. So this bulb, which I could have shared a picture, but you know, hopefully this will show you. This burns at 575 watts. So, you know, 12 times the capacity of that little candelabra bulb that looks quite similar. So if we have 400 fixtures burning at almost 600 watts each, the electrical draw for one of our theaters, just for the lighting department, is quite massive. So, but this is an advance, because when I started in this business, we used a 1,000 watt, 1 kilowatt bulb to achieve the effect that this newer technology can do. We were able to step it down to a 750 watt lamp, and now we're down to this at 575. One thing you'll see with these is there's a lot of, and I'll throw a link in the chat later about where you can do a little more research on these. A lot of detail in the filament on this, but this burns at 10 times the capacity of this, so generates almost 10 times the heat. Hence why we have this very large heat sink at the bottom to absorb all of that heat. But to get the maximum capacity out of these bulbs, an electrical engineer partnered with a structural engineer about this part, and also an optics engineer about the actual glass in this. I can touch the glass in this candelabra bulb, no problem. In fact, that's how you put it in. The glass in this is so fine that if I were to touch it with my finger and then illuminate this bulb, the glass would deform and potentially incinerate. This glass is super thin, and the natural oils on your hands are enough to degrade the glass in it. So we are able to use advances in optics to create much better lighting situations within our theaters, because if we're using 400 575 watt fixtures, we are um, we're doing our bit to, keep the energy industry going. And we wish to work, as we all do, to facilitate climate change. So we are continually innovating on that. That is why we have lots of things with LED now. But we have found, as yet, there's not really good LED for lighting the most important person on stage, whichever actor is acting, whichever singer is singing, whichever dancer is dancing. That humans aren't well treated yet by LEDs. I'm sure there will be a few questions about film. I have experience in film, would happy to speak to film and the film part of the entertainment industry as well. It's not something we in our local directly have jurisdiction over, but I have lots of experience with it. And many of our local members work in film, as do I. Going back to it on Monday, and happy to take questions on that. And Andrew, that is my presentation. Thank you.
Myself. Awesome. Thank you so much, George. That was amazing. And I remember this this conversation from 2018 about this same stuff, and it's like it only keeps getting more impacted. Technology keeps growing in impact in this industry, but I love what you said about like the greatest piece of technology is like what sits upon one's shoulders. I think that's so incredibly true, and something that often gets lost in the conversation about being somebody who's tech savvy. We often think of the actual things versus the thing that made it happen. So before we jump into the questions, I'm curious. So you kind of outlined a lot of different pathways into this industry. So what was your, like, when you first got involved in this world, did you come up through lighting? Did you come up through sound? Like where did you kind of make your mark in the industry?
A short backstory. I attended the University of British Columbia a very long time ago in a field that has nothing to do with this, the field that I'm now in. I worked for a while and then was volunteering with a theater festival in Vancouver, was inspired to learn more about it, so went back to university at Simon Fraser University, where they pushed people at that time to go work in the real world, and I began doing so on the lighting side originally, but was working in a small theater space where I was also doing the carpentry, running sound, doing a lot of other things. Got into the part of the industry that we speak of as technical direction, which is the person who works between the designers and the director to make tangible designers' ideas to place them upon the stage, and just kept expanding my skill set. Many of our members did pursue post-secondary education in theater, many at the University of Victoria, but we also have members who came to us through a trades program. As I mentioned, we build scenery for operas and theater. So we have people who went through Red Seal carpentry programs, and then instead of building houses or commercial structures, are now building scenery, because building a commercial building is good, solid work, but it's pretty much the same every day. Building an opera, you build for 6 weeks, you create something for Hansel and Gretel, for example, and then you go back in and build something for the opera Carmen, or something completely different. So there's that scale of different work. We have people who have come to us. We have members who have training in electrical engineering on the systems side and on the engineering side. We have people who have, come to us in many different routes, because, a lot of our work uses so much proprietary technology that you simply do not see anywhere else in the world, that it's very hands-on in that training. You can get the grounding you need elsewhere, as I did, as many of our members have, but then you need to come into the theater space and do it. You can learn about flies, as we call them, the moving of scenery pieces in a high school or a university theater. They're not going to have those old rope technology systems, because I'm sure an institution like that has liability lawyers who would pull their hair out at the thought of this old technology. But we, so we are a conduit in for that way. I mean, many people who work with us are creatives themselves. We have many people who are musicians, including touring musicians who make the majority of their living as working musicians. But as someone who has worked with an amplifier, you know how an amplifier works. You know how to mic an amplifier to make it sound good. So often those people work in the lighting department. We have people who, are performers, and they understand the stage circumstance. They know what it's like to be under the lights. So switching around to pointing the lights at a different performer isn't that big of a change, because at the end of the day, we're all working in the service of the show, right? And the show is what we're all about. I mean, in a normal world, no one ever sees me at work. If they do, something has probably gone wrong. And things do go wrong because it is a life form. It's ephemeral. Every show is different. Even if we are doing the same play 8 shows a week for months, every show is slightly different, because you swap in an actor for an actor who has a sore throat, or someone trips, because we can't stop and do another take. This is live, right? So we're all in service of the show. So that's one of the big differences between the live side of entertainment and the film side of entertainment. We got one shot. We spend a lot of time doing what we speak of as technical rehearsals in theater spaces, in concert spaces, in meeting spaces before shows, and go through it and go through it and go through it and go through it. And we run it over and over and over again, both for making sure the technology part of it is working, but also to make sure that the human technology part of it is doing their task, because we have automated systems for moving. That little door will float across the stage, but often it's a person in black hiding behind the door, moving the door across the stage, because it is a very human business, right? It is probably up there with healthcare as the most human of businesses.
Absolutely. Okay, so then that kind of feeds into another kind of question. In terms of that, because it is such a human piece, and obviously we look at healthcare, hugely impacted by the pandemic, obviously, and the entertainment industry, particularly live theater, has been fundamentally changed. So I don't want to look at the bad side of things. I'm curious about what are the innovations that you've seen that have come out of this shift to the way that live theater is being produced now, that maybe will stick around?
Well, lots of things have changed, obviously, and we often would film live entertainment pieces for future broadcast or archival record in the past. Now, what we're often doing, even now in the no live shows environment, is filming performance in our theater spaces, some for live streaming, some for later broadcast. We recently filmed an opera with our partners at Pacific Opera Victoria called The Garden of Alice. It was a full-on, almost film shoot circumstance, will be fully edited and then released probably through their website and other broadcast channels. Many of our workers, as I noted, also work in filmed entertainment. So they have transitioned to that in this time, because there's lots of film work happening on the island. And it carries a similar set of skill set across to the film side of entertainment. What we see is, and I think most people will see this going forward, is that there will be a hybrid model. We will continue to film productions often for a live stream or for delayed broadcast after the live performance. We have to also be respectful in filming stuff with a live audience, that the live audience is served first by the show. So, cameras need to be unobtrusive, out of the way. I mean, one thing we've done, when I showed the image of the ETC Solo moving head lighting fixture with all of those motors in it, motors are noisy. Those lights operate very hot and have fans in them. So we need to make choices on where technology is placed within theaters to reduce the impact that has on the audience, because you don't want to be hearing all those motors whirring. And, we keep increasing the way that those motors can work quietly. But so I think a hybrid model, just like, a presentation like this in future, will potentially have a live and streamed component. And I think that's where it goes. It also gives us an opportunity to use backgrounds, right? We use them all the time in film. We do stuff in front of green screens where we drop CGI or stock footage onto those green screens, green floors, green ceilings, green walls afterwards. But it's also something that can be done in a live circumstance, right? So that technology is going to keep melding. And I think the thing that we as technology users are most looking forward to is ways that still serves the live audience.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you say that this sort of this idea of this hybrid model is what's going to continue, because I think that's absolutely it. And I'm excited. I think it adds a new dynamic to these shows, but definitely adds more work. So speaking of weird things that are happening, there's some strange background noises that are popping up for me that I'm going to try and go and solve while I ask you this next question. So what right now, as a person who has been working in this industry for a while, what do you see as kind of the most demand in terms of different roles and opportunities for people that are interested to get into this industry right now? And then I'll just say, I'm going to disappear for 1 second while you're answering this, and then I'll be back if it goes blank. So, okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Thank you for that, Andrew.
Yeah.
As I noted at the top of my presentation, we are the original union of the gig workers. There are many of our members who, while having multiple skills, have chosen to narrow their skill set to concentrate on a single area. But the vast majority of this work is based on having a wide spectrum of skills. So you want to be able to work in lights and work in sound and work in carpentry, to be able to drive a forklift, to drive a truck, to have your first aid ticket. All of those things allow you the greater breadth of opportunity for work, especially when you're just starting in the business. Because as I discovered when I was just starting, is that the ability to say yes when the phone rings is a great asset to the employers. Because we send our workers to work by seniority based on their capacity with the technology. Junior workers often will get called at the last minute to go to work. So the ability to have that freedom to take that work will allow you to get more of that work, which increases your seniority, which gets you more work. And obviously, as I noted, we are a training local. So continuing your training. I mean, we partner, for example, it was late February, we were one of the sponsors of the ACTSE Entertainment Safety Conference. ACTSE is an entity based in Vancouver that works in conjunction with WorkSafe BC and the entertainment industry to develop and promote safety standards in entertainment, because all businesses are slightly dangerous, but ours has many, many moving parts. When we have as we had a couple of years ago, 138 of our workers plus 45 workers from Cirque du Soleil taking 3.5 hours to load out a circus into 38 trucks. There's a lot of stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
So unless safety protocols are there, there's danger. Well, the danger remains, but it's how you deal with them. So our friends at IATSE do run a lot of training as well that people who are just thinking about this can take, that it will serve them both in live entertainment and on the film side as well. So keep training. Even us old folks need to keep training.
I love that. Yeah, and I think it's such an important piece, but especially in a changing industry. So I just want to say, because we've got a bunch of people that have just popped into the stream. Welcome to the stream. We're here chatting with George Scott, president of IATSE Local 168. Which is, if you're unsure what that is and you're just tuning into the stream, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Picture Technicians, Artists, and Allied Crafts of the United States, its territories, and Canada. I'm glad I have that up on another screen. So if you've got some questions that you'd like to ask George about kind of what it's like to work in that industry, how to get into the industry, or how to do, and I love on the IATSE website, it actually lists sort of all of the different career opportunities that are in there and sort of who's represented. And if you can't see it on here, if you're watching the stream, it's carpentry, sound, lighting, properties, flies, rigging, video, wardrobe, makeup, loading, forklifts, wigs, hair, scenic painting, projectionist, backline, first aid, front of house. It's everything that goes into making these shows happen. So if you've got questions for George, feel free to throw them in the chat. We've got about another 15 minutes or so, and we want to hear from you. What would you like to know about how to get into this industry and what it is all about? By the way, Frank Sci-Tech says cool interview. So you're doing a great job, George. Coming from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. I love it.
A pleasure to be here.
So we've looked at a couple of those options. So I'm curious. I always ask sort of folks that are on the stream a question about sort of the top traits that are people that are going to be successful in this industry. It tends to be that there's sort of universal traits that are good across the board, but I'm curious what that looks like from the perspective of IATSE. What traits are you looking for in young employees that are just getting into the industry that you think will help them be successful?
Well, I like to say, because I obviously am the president of the local, but I do work outside of IATSE. I run my own event company here in Victoria, is that we in entertainment are always looking for people with open eyes, open ears, open hands, closed shoes, wear your safety shoes, and unless it's needed, the closed mouth. Be willing to take in all that information, be open-minded, because things are changing on the fly. If there's a question, ask. Don't hesitate to ask, because the experienced members of this business know that they have a lot of information up here that is of no use unless it is shared, right? It's and we are the people who hide behind the footlights, as we like to say. We hide in the dark. So, I'm wearing my union shirt and it's black. We wear lots of black. We are a very welcoming industry because, you may need to have a certain look on stage or in the band or whatever. With us, no. We are a bit of a little safe space for the freaks and the nerds out there. Lots of our members got lots of ink and lots of piercings, and we embrace those freaky people, because if you bring us willingness and skills and situational awareness and are willing to work hard, we'll put you to work. Some of the work is very physical, but we've got wee little members who get in there and do it because it's a job for anyone. Get some training or not. Come see us. We can give you an opportunity, because our take on it generally is we'll give you once in the door, but you need to show us why we don't walk you back out of it, right? It's like any business in that way, but we'll give you that opportunity, right? And I think that's a big part of it, is that we are, we're open to people who are bringing skills and a variety of experience. I mean, we have members, as I said, you have to be 18 to apply to join a union in British Columbia. That's just the law of the land. But we have people who are starting to build their permittee hours towards membership who are just barely 18. Some of our senior working members are in their 70s. This isn't a business you need to retire from. There are members who work mainly in other fields. I see one of our senior members every so often when I jump on the bus he drives. But he retains his membership, and occasionally he comes and joins us on a concert he really wants to work in, because he retains that right. So you can do this fun entertainment job in conjunction with another job. We have lots of full-time jobs, but we also have lots of positions for people who want to pick hours casually as well.
I love that. So I'm curious. So I've got a couple of questions. So one, for those that are on the stream, and I'll post this if you're catching this on YouTube. I'll post this, all these links in the comment or in the description below. But if you're interested in joining, in the chat right now, there's a link to the IATSE 168 join link. So so let's say we've got somebody who's watching the stream, they've just graduated high school, because that's a lot of our kind of our core audience, or they're getting there, and they want to join, but they don't have a job. Can they join IATSE 168, and then, like you said, there'll be an opportunity for the job? Do they have to already be working? Like,
no. What's
the process look like?
We take people in as what we call permittees.
Okay.
Right? Because this isn't a job for everyone. Just like any field, it isn't necessarily your space, but we welcome you to find out if it is. So if you are 18 years of age, send us a resume. If you've done high school theater, be it on stage, off stage, have some background, tell us that, a one-pager resume. We also have a bunch of forms on that site where I corrected the link that, you can just list what you've done. Did you do carpentry in high school? Great. Did you do, sewing in high school? We make costumes from scratch, from patterns, right? We have a drawing from a designer and that actor over there, and we make it come together. So that sort of skill and experience, list any of your certifications, and we'll get you in. And, we try to get people as much breadth as we can when they're first coming in, unless they have a specific interest, because, I didn't know that I wanted to be a rigger. I didn't know I wanted to stand, 65 feet in the air on a hunk of steel and pull on a chain to make shows happen, but it's fun, right? But it's not for everyone. Some people don't like those heights. That's okay. That's all right. We don't judge, right? So yeah, and as I said, if you are working at a theater space already, great. But if you're just getting into this from a sort of paid point of view, send us a thing, because once we get going again, we're going to be busy. And as I noted, on that one day where we had Cirque du Soleil loading out and there were 138 of us, that was the very first day for a bunch of people.
Wow.
And they came in, and like I said, it's a massive, massive operation. And Cirque du Soleil, they're $1 billion operation with shows all across the planet. Everything is very system, completely system. Everything goes to a specific truck in a specific order, because it has to come off a specific truck in a specific order at the next venue. Things go in the truck this way, or the case spins and goes this way. And, there's a person in that truck hauling these things. So a lot of people got a lot of whoa in their very first show, because that is quite something to work on.
I'm going to be honest with you, George. The further we go into this interview, the more I'm like, yeah, I might need a side gig. I did some theater in high school. Maybe I can get into this gig. But I'm curious for those people that are on the stream that are watching. Like, they may be sitting out there. They're like, well, but I can go and get a job anywhere. Like, what? I mean, I know, but for some of our younger viewers, they may not know. Like, what's the impact of the union on those jobs versus sort of just going and getting a job yourself? And then does that impact pay? Are they decent paying gigs? Like, what does that look like?
Right. Well, as I noted, we have 8 employers across Vancouver Island, from very small theater companies to the largest theater company on the island. We provide the labor at the Save on Foods Memorial Center here in Victoria. We have a venue in Duncan at the Cowichan Performing Arts Center, and up in Campbell River at the Tidemark Theater. Wage rates differ based on, those employers. One thing that you will find in entertainment is there are, other than our workers who work in offices doing arts administration, and we do represent some of those people with multiple of our employers, it's not an 8 to 4 or a 9 to 5 job. For example, on a opera load-in, we will work 6 12 to 16-hour days in a row, right? Because you're in a union, you will get overtime. You will get double time when it kicks in. You will actually get your meal breaks as mandated. IATSE Local 168 is part of IATSE Canada, which with other organizations is part of what's known as the Canadian Entertainment Industry Retirement Plan. So we have a pension structure built in. So there is some freelance work out there in town. Again, does it have those protections? Does that employer carry your work safe? So when you get hurt on the job site, do you actually get paid? I mean, I myself went into the lockdown with a broken left hand. I broke it at work. It was fine. It was a little break. But because I was working in a union circumstance, no issues with the paperwork and no issues getting, my wages covered. Because I was off work through an injury at work, a recognized employer, right? So
that's very true.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think, as you said, sort of this is the original gig economy, and we're moving into this world where a lot of people don't necessarily want those 9 to 5 jobs, certainly. And so this is a great opportunity with those protections. I think so often everybody thinking about the entertainment industry, they're like, if I'm going to get involved in this, I don't know how to do it. This is such an amazing gateway for people that are interested to see if this is a place for them. And I love, love, love that idea of, this isn't for everybody. We're willing to give people a try, and maybe it won't work out and you won't get a call again, but you're never going to know, and we're never going to know unless you get a chance to get in there and try it out.
Yeah, and as I said, we're very welcoming. We also, as a union, are very dedicated to equity and diversity and inclusion. We make efforts to try and make our membership mirror that of the communities in which we live and work. And for example, with our opera company, we may think of the construction of scenery as a boy job. It's not a boy job. It's a human job. One of our best carpenters in that opera shop is a female member of our local who also happens to be a Red Seal carpenter, right? And one of the people who works in our wardrobe department, which might be considered a girl job, isn't a girl. They're all humans, and we pay the same rate for the same work. So if you are the head of the construction department, you're the head of the wardrobe department, you are running a department that is integral to the show, we pay the same rate, right? There's no boy jobs, no girl jobs, no straight jobs, no gay jobs. There's none of that. It's all about equity. And if your value to the show is equivalent to that person over there, you're getting paid the same. I've been a member of IATSE for pushing 25 years. When I am on the stage at the Royal Theatre, if I'm the crew chief or department head, I have a certain scale of responsibility, so I get paid a bit more. But if I just show up with my wrench that day, that brand new member over there gets paid the same as me because their work is of the same value.
I love that. And if you're on the stream, if you're watching this, you're catching it on YouTube, and you're young, because we know, hey, you're high school students, the value that a lot of these things that George is talking about cannot be measured. You won't find a lot of these jobs in a lot of places. So pretty incredible opportunities. So we're at about like the 5 minutes. We got started a couple minutes late, but I always like to end off these streams with a question that I ask for everybody. And this ends up being my like trailer to convince people to come watch these streams. And I never warn anybody, but it forces you to watch the streams. So, and I'll put you center stage in just a second, George, but the question is this. If you had a single kind of salient piece of advice, and I kind of asked you this question already, but your best advice for somebody who is a young person who is considering a career working as a member of IATSE, working in theaters, working in entertainment, in like a minute or less, like what would that advice be for them?
Well, I mean, first, bring your open mind. Be willing to learn, be willing to work hard, and be willing to grow, because, you know, we don't have many lifetime jobs in the world anymore. So as you grow as a person, you may decide this job is not for you and may wish to go on to something else. You may think about it now, but in 10 years go, you know what, I think I want to go try out that entertainment thing. You're welcome to do so. Keep open-minded, keep willing to grow, and willing to learn.
Awesome. Well, we're almost at the very end, but I will kind of throw this out to our chat, that if you've got any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat really quick. And if you're catching this on YouTube and you're like, oh, I missed out on the opportunity to ask the question, I have a burning question now that George has said this, that's okay. Throw your comments in the comment section below, and I will make sure that your questions get to George and I will answer them. Like, we are monitoring these chat things all the time. We want to make sure your questions get answered. And if you want to know a little bit more about IATSE 168 and what's involved there, if you're interested in getting some more information, you can go to the website that looks a little bit something like, let me pull up my screen share again. Looks a little bit something like this. I've linked it in the chat, and I'll link it in the description below. And yeah, you can find George's contact information there. Yeah, I guess that's the question. So if folks are looking to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
I'm happy to take questions by email anytime. My email's pretty simple. It's president, spelled all the way out, at IATSE, and then the digits 168.com. I often, you know, this is my third Zoom of 5 today, so but things often come to you 5 minutes afterwards and you're like, I should have asked. And I am like that too. So in 5 minutes, when it strikes you, or you're watching this on the YouTube channel and something strikes you, fire me an email and I'm happy to respond.
Amazing. So yeah, if you are interested, where is that YouTube channel? I mean, you can just search High Tech U YouTube. It's also in the chat and the description below. If you want to find out more information on High Tech U, that link is in there as well as linked below. And then you can find us on social media. You can also find IATSE 168 really active on Twitter, which I love. So with all that said, I want to do a couple big thank yous. First, a huge thank you to you, George, for being here, for talking about some kind of hidden careers. Like, as you said, if you're doing your job right in these jobs, nobody knows who you are or where you are. So I love the opportunity to bring these jobs to the forefront. So thank you so much for being here. And to all of our viewers who are on the stream or catching us on YouTube, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your questions. And even if you didn't ask any questions and you were like asking them in your head and then George answered them, that's awesome. Like, thanks for being here. Thanks for exploring. Thanks for being willing. Thanks for having that open mind. And again, if you're interested in getting more information about IATSE 168, you can go to IATSE168.com and you can find more information about some of these cool opportunities and how to get involved in the union. So George, last word over to you. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I just want to thank you, Andrew, for having me, and High Tech U for putting this series together, and to the attendees, be they live or later, thanks for keeping that open mind and keeping learning.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. And as usual, we hope to see you again here on Q&A Corner. Stay kind, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you next time here on Twitch and here in the Q&A Corner. Bye.